let's exercise and put some of those boundaries in place right now. You don't have to overexert yourself. Your children are more impressed with you and your presence than they are with presents. Okay? So there's no need for you to grind, trying to get the green. And then when you get home, you have nothing left to give them. They want nothing more than to be with you. Hey, you. Welcome back to the Redefining YEW podcast. I'm your host, Lyndria Wynn, and we are back with episode 4. I'm excited because it is Mother's Day weekend right now. By the time you guys see, it'll be after Mother's Day. So I want to say happy belated Mother's Day to all you mommies out there, all you mommies to be, all you stepmothers, anyone that you happen to be nurturing and mothering. You are playing such a paramount role. I cannot tell you how important, how valuable, how needed, and just everything you are. So happy Mother's Day to you. I hope that this weekend brings you nothing but rest, relaxation, rejuvenation, and you are honored this weekend and made to feel like a queen, because that you are. All right, so this is going to be a quick episode because just like you, I'm a mommy and I'm due for some necessary rest and pampering, especially after the week that I just had. So I'm going to jump right into it today. We're going to be talking about the importance of boundaries. And I know a lot of times that's a big thing now, that we're establishing boundaries and putting some things in place to make sure that we're not overextending ourselves and overexerting ourselves. But I got to tell you, it's easier said than done. If I'm honest about it, it's a lot easier said than done. And the reason being is because if you, especially mommies, if you happen to be someone who has created humans and made people, it's really difficult for you not to be Superwoman and to be everything and to be everything to everyone. It's a completely natural response to want to show up. But let me tell you something. It is a clear sign that it's time for you to establish some boundaries when you're showing up for everyone else, but you are left with nothing. When you are burnt out, when you are depleted of every good thing that you have to give, you deserve some good stuff too. Let me go on record and say that you deserve to be happy. You deserve rest. You deserve to be fulfilled. And I know a lot of times in society we hear that, oh, well, we get to rest when we're dead. No. I am in a season where I need rest. Yes, I'm going to be successful. Yes, I'm going to be, bomb and all that stuff. And I'm going to get everything that God has for me. But I do believe that there is a necessary rest period and a necessary rejuvenation period that we all have to give ourselves. It's not a luxury. It's not a treat that we should seldomly indulge in. This is something that we need to keep going. I recently picked up a book that I'm super excited to dive into, and I can't speak to yet because I haven't read it, but it's Balance by Torrey Roberts. So I'll be able to give you some insight into what I've read and what I've picked up and gleaned from, because in this season of my life, I need nothing more than balance. But let's get back to these boundaries, because it's super important. Not only that you establish some healthy boundaries for the people around you, but it's important for you to establish boundaries for yourself. There are things that I will not do, that I will not subject myself to, because why? I care about me. I care about my well-being. I understand that I too am valuable. I too am important. And therefore, there are certain things where I have to cut it off at the root. Like, I have to guard myself and create a line of demarcation in the sand that says, I can't go past this point. It's kind of like when you're charging your phone, but you want to sit somewhere specific, but the charger is a little closer to the wall. And essentially, one of two things are going to happen. Either the source of energy is not going to move. So the only thing that you can do is adjust and pivot and ultimately scoop and change your positioning, change your situation, change your, norm, and get a little closer to the energy source. So that number one, the thing that you're wanting to do can still be functional. We want to use our phones while it's on the charger, but at the same time, the energy source is constant, is not moving. So that means that we have to adjust to the situation. We have to pivot and make ourselves, accessible to what it is that we're trying to do. And I hope that that makes sense to you, because this past week, I'm going to be frank with y'all and say I was burnt out. I was overextending myself in a number of ways, because I'm in a season of my life where I'm getting the very thing that I prayed for. And anybody who is seeing the hand of God on their life knows exactly what I mean. If you have gotten to a place in your life, in your career, in your family life, where you have the house, you have the kids, you have, whatever it is that you sought God and asked him for, and now that he's blessed you with it, you're like, oh my God. Lord, I don't know if I was ready for all this. I didn't understand the magnitude of my ask. And not to say that you regret it, but it's more to it than the Instagram post, It's more to it than, oh, a couple likes here, a couple likes there. We take the baby to this park and we take all these great pictures, because outside of the pictures, your life can be in shambles. Your life can be in shambles. Outside of the business meetings and the company trips and all that stuff, your life could literally be in shambles without balance and boundaries. So this weekend, like I said, it's Mother's Day weekend right now, but by the time you see it, it will be past. But let's exercise and put some of those boundaries in place right now. You don't have to overexert yourself. Your children are more impressed with you and your presence than they are with presents. Okay? So there's no need for you to grind, trying to get the green. And then when you get home, you have nothing left to give them. They want nothing more than to be with you. Believe it or not, regardless of what the world has shown you in your life, you are enough. But without all the bells and whistles, without all the things that comes with you, you by yourself, bear, is already enough. You don't have to add anything or make anything special. You're enough. And anyone who's had children, I know a lot of times, especially single mothers, they'll say, I didn't know love until I had children, because those babies will love you down. I mean, these babies love you something serious, even when they just got a spanking. And yes, I do spank my kids. Not all the time, but they do get spankings. We believe in that here. And they're better because of it. They are better because of it. But at the end of the day, there is something about the love of a child. There's something about the love of a child. My son recently just created he's kindergarten age, so he's creating the crafts and all that stuff. And basically he had a little book that he made for mom, and he hand wrote it. And he made me a keychain and just all these beautiful little things that I am going to cherish forever. But he's creating now, and he's making these things. And he's really starting to think about who I am and who I am to him. And what I'm shocked by is who I am to him is completely different than who I am to the people that I work with. Like, I am a professional. I am the expert in my career, but at home, I'm just mommy, I'm just mommy. And he just loves me without being great, without being smart, without being able to do all these things and present and show up in a way. He just loves me. He literally said, and a lot of times as women, we're like, oh, well, I can cook, I can throw it in the kitchen. I can actually cook, but I don't cook a lot. So when I do cook, it's almost like a treat for him. But he literally said on this paper, the best thing that mommy cooks is pancakes and eggs. I hollered. Because I'm like, out of everything that you've ever had me make, I actually cooked complete Thanksgiving by myself last year because we were living in a different city and it was just a lot getting back to where we needed to be. So I ended up cooking Thanksgiving dinner by myself, the whole shebang at my house, and it was just my family of four. And when I tell you we ate good, we ate good. And my baby had 2 plates. And the thing he came up with was pancakes and eggs, but that's what he can recall. And I want to bring that up because a lot of times we consume ourselves and we grind trying to create this grand experience when what the baby is going to remember, what the children are going to remember, what the people are going to remember is when you sat next to them in your pajamas with no bra on and you ate ice cream or you ate popcorn or you rubbed their feet. They're going to remember that. They're going to remember your humble moments, not when you're great, not when you're grand, not when you're doing all these things. They're going to remember, yeah, they're going to remember the trips. Don't get me wrong. They will remember the trips. They will remember, the wonderful parts, but there's going to be some parts that they're just going to remember you and how pretty you got when daddy took you on date night. So cherish those moments. Cherish those moments. Hold those close and make sure that you're showing up in those quiet moments, in those still moments when it's just you and them. It's just you and them. All right. So like I said, this week is going to be a really short episode because I'm going to get some rest, some much needed rest. All right. We're going to transition right into the redefining moment. This week, as I said, was really, really tough. And I was exhausted mentally, emotionally, just drained. And I had a really good cry this week. I had a really good cry. And I can't remember the last time that I cried like that. And there was a lot of things that kind of built up to this this tsunami of tears, I would say. But that moment of release, I realized when I made that initial, that when your shoulders start bouncing, it was one of those cries. So I just know that tears were already falling. My husband walks in the room and my kids are they're playing. They don't even realize that I've started to cry because of just the overwhelmingness of the day and the events that continue to play out. And just tears started rolling down my face. And I was trying to keep it together because my kids are around, trying to be strong. And it's like, for who? Who are you trying to be strong for? Who are you trying to be strong for? Like, just let it go. Just let it go. So my husband comes over. He sees me crying. And he immediately, I'm sitting on the bed. He immediately, grabs my shoulders. He just brings me close to him. He hugs me. And you ever been in church? You've been crying, and then somebody come over and give you a hug, and it's even worse. It was one of those moments. So again, boo-hooing. And then I gathered myself because my baby comes in. Mommy, what's wrong? Why are you crying? He's wiping my tears. My husband's like, baby, just give mommy a hug. She just needs a hug right now. So he's giving me a hug, and I'm gathering myself. I'm like, oh, I'm okay. I'm okay. I'm okay. And as I said, I'm okay. I'm okay. I'm okay. I started crying even harder because I wasn't okay. I wasn't okay. In that moment, I needed rest. I needed that meltdown moment. I needed it. After I finished that, I felt like I could have run a mile. After I made that release, I literally could have run a mile. And here's the reason why. We don't realize that healing comes from our humanity. If we don't acknowledge pain and acknowledge discomfort and acknowledge that things are going on, it's almost like we're not human, like we're robotic in a sense, and nothing bothers us. And that's so toxic. That is so toxic. As women, we have to get to a place where it's okay for us to be soft and sensitive and supple. And I know a lot of people have taken advantage of you in those moments, and they've robbed you of, your sensitivity. So you got to show up. You got to be a boss. You got to be this. Absolutely not. I want a gentle life. I was thinking about it after the fact, and I'm like, being able to be held in my husband's arms crying, that felt good because I'm always the strong one. I'm always the one figuring it out. I'm always the one who has to, suck it up, shuck it up, poker face, because in my organization, in my field, you have to show up in a certain way. You can't be crying at the drop of a hat. You have to be able to be emotionally mature in a lot of situations, whether you like it or not. And it just felt so good. It felt so good. I was genuinely healed from that moment and those moments of my humanity where I was able to be a woman, to be soft and be sensitive and be vulnerable in that moment. It brought so much healing. I want to encourage you that no matter who you are to the world, you remain soft, sensitive, and pliable to Him. And the reason being is because we get so caught up in the grind. I've said this over and over and over again because God has really been dealing with me about this grinding mentality. You got to grind, you got to make it happen. Getting caught up in being on this hamster wheel of the quote unquote grind will have you literally out here about to kill yourself. You will literally grind yourself into a grave. Hear me when I say there is nothing more toxic than this grind mentality. There's nothing more toxic than that, because you have to understand that when you're someone of faith, we can't do anything without God, but we can do everything with Him. And you have to understand, and I know a lot of times we hear the scripture, faith without work is dead. Yes, and that applies to people who is expecting God to be a genie and snap their fingers and it happens. But the exercising of your faith is something. You doing what's humanly possible is all the work that you need to do. You don't need to be karate chopping and buzzing doors down. God will open the doors for you. You can live a gentle and an easy life in Him. And that's what I want. It made it, after I finished crying, it was so clear. I want to have more of those moments. I want to have more of those gentle moments where I can just cry, be soft and sensitive. Okay? I want to graze. And that's all I could think about. So think about a cow or any farm animal that you can think of. They're always eating. It's not that and don't think about it eating as like spiritual food, but they're always being nourished. Their needs are always being met. They are not wondering about where their next meal is going to come from. They are not wondering like what's going to happen. Ultimately, they know exactly what's going to happen and how things are going to play out. They know that ultimately, if the food dries up here, they're just going to travel and follow the food. They're going to follow their provision. They're going to follow their Father, essentially. And I want to encourage us to do the exact same thing, okay? No matter where you are in your life, no matter how you felt like you've shown up in the past, like, we got to get out of this grind mentality and commit to grazing. We want a soft and gentle life, and there is nothing wrong with that. All right? So that's the redefining moment for this week. We're going to graze. We're going to make grazing a goal. We're trusting the provision of God, not the provision of our grind, not the provision of our hands. We are trusting God with any and every good thing. It's 2022, and we are going to live a gentle life. There's nothing wrong with being soft and feminine and gentle, and I'm going to embrace every piece of that. I'm going to be strong when I need to. I'm going to be soft and putty when I need to, with no shame. All right? Again, it's Mother's Day weekend for me, so I'm going to get ready to jump off here. And next episode, be prepared because we are going to have our very first guest. I'll be dropping some hints soon, but I'm excited about it. We're going to be jumping into some parenting things one-on-one that'll give you a little hint. Have an amazing day. Have an amazing Mother's Day weekend. I hope you had an amazing Mother's Day weekend when you see this. And if you didn't, run it back and do something special for you this coming weekend, all right? Have an amazing day. It's so good to jump on here and just be vulnerable with you guys. Until next time, folks, follow me on Instagram at quench_Dree. Also at Redefining You. If you like this, if something dropped in your spirit today, be sure to comment, talk to your girl. I'm not the one that's not going to respond back. Say something to me, drop it and say hi, say I enjoyed it, and join the tribe. Get active, join the tribe, subscribe, all those things. Like, comment, subscribe, and share with somebody that needs to hear this. You guys have an amazing Mother's Day weekend. I hope you had an amazing Mother's Day weekend. I'll see you next time. See ya.